Hi guys, it's Jonathan Chown here again with JChowngolf at Crondon Park Golf Club in Essex. And what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about one, why you cast the golf club, and two, how to never cast the golf club again. So we're talking about this movement through the ball, that horrible angle. We're never going to be doing that again. So before we jump into the video, please make sure you like and you subscribe to make sure you're up to date with all things JChowngolf. I'll be posting a lot of content coming up. So what we've got to do to really get rid of this cast. First, we've got to understand why it happened. Now, we know what it is. If I grab a ball here, we are coming into the ball and we are throwing our angles coming into the ball. We're adding loft, and that club face will be pointing a little bit left as well. So we'll be hitting very high, weak, and maybe a little bit left golf shots. Now, this is a thing I see on a daily basis. People might know that this is what they're doing. They're casting that golf club. So what do they try to do as a reaction? They try to hold that angle coming in so they can get that shaft lean. And for most people, that is not the way to go about it. That will make you hit the ball way, way worse, because there's a reason why you're casting the golf club. Now, that reason is because your club face is most likely far too open. So if I'm hitting my ball down the line here, your club face will be opening up really wide and it'll be staying open throughout the golf swing. You might even just be opening it up in the downswing. So if we're going to really return a square club face to the ball, what are we going to do here? We're going to throw our angles to be able to square the club face. Again, from this angle, if we're throwing those angles to square the club face, our club face has to be open. So we are throwing that angle just as a reaction to get that golf ball to go where we want. The body is smart, it will try to get that ball to your target in a subconscious way. So you can already imagine there, if we're a golfer trying to keep our angle with a massive open club face, when we have shaft lean going into there, which would be what we'll be trying to achieve with an open club face, shaft lean opens up the club face even more. So we know we can't do that. When we're not going to not try to get shaft lean, that's what we want. We're going to fix the open club face first. If we can get this club face more toe down, so we can see more toe down, the club face pointing more towards the ground, maybe knuckles down for example, really keeping that club face nice and square, then we can return the club to the ball with adequate lean, because that will square up the club face nicely. So first things first, we've got to identify why we are opening up the club face. Sure, we might be having a weak grip, that can definitely be it. But let's assume that your grip is fine, you've got a standard neutral grip, you're perfect with that. But let's say in that takeaway, what you do, you roll that forearm. You roll your forearms to where you get that club face quite open. So let's say in this scenario where we're going to think of a glove on our hand. So let me grab a glove, put my glove on. Very old glove this, don't judge me for the hole in it. So we can judge this by the logo on our FootJoy glove here. So for me it's a FootJoy one. If I'm rolling those forearms and making them open, my FootJoy logo is pointing way down really in front of me, and that's opening up the club face. So what we've got to do here, now this will be a great feeling for you, it will be to making sure that FootJoy logo is staying relatively pointing at the ground. You can see if I do that in a takeaway, it's going to get my FootJoy logo, it's pointing diagonally down to ground, more where my bucket of balls are there. If I do that and maintain that, same thing in the downswing, feeling like my FootJoy logo is more pointing at my basket, knuckles facing down, I'm going to be having, if I've got a neutral grip, quite a nice square club face. Again, if our grip's weak, strengthen the grip first. But if we are doing this, we're doing the root cause. We're fixing the root cause behind a cast and flip, and that's most of the time your club face is too open. So what we've got to do, we've got to work on that bit first. We've got to identify, right, if our club face is open and we're casting it, let's fix the open club face first. Let's get that on there. Once that's done and that's good, so we can be thinking logo of the glove pointing down to the ground, knuckles turning down. That would be a great thought. But what will still happen because of the subconscious pattern of our brain, it will still want to redo the old pattern, which is casting the golf club. So once we've got this feel and got this club face nice and square, we've got to then do the stereotypical anti-cast type of drill. So that could be holding your angles for sure, but for me I want a better drill than that. I want something that tells me straight away whether I've done it, and this is what we're going to do. I'm going to grab my alignment stick here, and what I'm going to do with this alignment stick, I'm going to grip it up my left hand, so my lead hand, and I'm going to grip it up the left hand side of the golf club. So about halfway up, and I've got a lot of stick jutting out here. So as we can see here, if I've got a squarer club face, which we need first, we need that club face to be squarer. So we've got it slightly toed down. So club face is looking slightly down. My glove logo is pointing at a bucket of balls in front of me. Once that's there, I can then focus on keeping this stick away from my body. See there, if I'm keeping this stick away from my body, I'm leaning that shaft forward. But then if I start to cast, it's going to hurt. It's going to hit us and it's going to stop that club from moving. But this is to be only done when we're strengthening that club face. We're getting it squarer. So what we need to do in order to hit this is lean that shaft forward. So if I hit a shot here where I'm really over exaggerating it, I'm making sure my foot joy logo is pointing down towards the ground, and all I've got to do is hit a little clip shot, because that's all we can do with this, keeping this from not hitting our side. We don't want it to hit our side. We're going to get a real low one out there, and that's exactly what we need to do to start off. So I'm going to cut to another camera angle where it's going to show from my point of view on everything we need to do with this shot. So let's talk a little bit about casting again at this point of view angle. So what we normally see with casting, we're seeing an open club face coming into the ball here. So you can see how my foot joy logo is pointing quite across. Now this is of course for a standard grip. Now what we see here, we see if we just continue going and hold our angle, we can see how that club face is just going to point way out to the right. That's not what we want. So what our body is instinctively going to do, it's going to throw its angle. See how that, when I throw that angle, see how it squares up the club face from being very open. So it's obvious what we need to do here. We need to get this club face squarer coming into the ball. We can see how we're more toed down there. That's ideally what we want, because if we're more toed down there, we're going to naturally want to get our shaft leaning in front of the ball, because we can see that really squares up the club face. And it's all just knowing what this shaft angle does to the club face. So let's have a little look here. If we lean it real back, we can see the club face points more and more left. If we point it more forward, it points it more and more out to the right. So we've really got to make sure here that if we are doing it via rolling the forearms, we've got to make sure that our glove logo is, for one, pointing more at that bucket of balls as we're going back, and as we're going down, it's still pointing either at the bucket of balls or maybe slightly down to the ground. We can see club head here now is slightly toed down, so all I would need to do there is return that angle again. But if we talk about a drill, let's grab the alignment stick. So we know the club face is really going to have a massive role on this. So first we've got to get that club face square, but now we're going to add in a drill to force us into that position. So if we are going to get back here and have our glove logo pointing at that basket of balls, so diagonally in front of us, and we maintain that going through, all we need to do here is a nice drill like this to get that club ahead. So I want to do this drill, and I don't want this stick to end up hitting me, because if I start casting it, it's going to hit my side, and at speed that's not going to be very nice. So doing this drill, we only want nice 3/4 to half swings, just to make sure we're doing it nice and soft. Let's get that glove logo, point at the basket. Let's keep it turned down, and let's keep this stick from hitting us. So nice and low, that's what it should be doing, because I'm de-lofting that shot really exaggerated. And again, if we can get an exaggeration of what we want on the other side, that's what we need for learning. We're not going to come into that ball doing this and start hitting our side. We want to exaggerate the closed club face, more squarer club face coming in and keeping this gap between us as good as we can, and then rotating through. So in summary here guys, what we need to do to fix this cast for good, we first need the root cause of it done, and that is the open club face. Whatever way you're opening the club face, this was just one example of how you could do it rolling the forearms. It could be grip, it could be wrist angles, it could be any of those. So really we got to make sure that club face is square coming into the ball, because if that club face is not square and it's open, we are certainly, as a reaction, going to be casting at that ball. We're going to be throwing the angles because that squares up the club face. The body's smart, it will try to do what it has to do to get that ball going down to target. And I can promise you, if you practice those two bits of getting that club face squarer and really working on a good anti-cast drill that gives you good feedback, then you'll be well on your way to fixing this problem for good. So if you like that video guys, please like and subscribe, help me out an absolute ton, and there'll be plenty more videos to come, that's for certain. So what we've got to do, let's work on these bits and let's get rid of that cast for good.